What's up? How's everybody doing? Oh my goodness. Yeah, thank you. Come on down. Everybody come on down. Have a seat on the front rows, right up here, as close as you can. Huh? No, everybody's not here yet, but that's okay. Ooh, first day of school. Some people are going to be coming in late or sleeping in. Huh? Oh, yeah, that's all you do. Those of you who are Simpson County, you got a whole nother week. How was school? For those of you who were there, it wasn't too bad. Huh? Tired, yeah. Huh? Prison. How many of you switched schools? You're in a different school now. Just one of you? Yeah, you went to a different school, kind of. Same building. Anybody else? Going to a different school? Simpson County next year, you're going to a different school? Y'all have like 35 schools. I feel like you change every few years, don't you? So you'll be going to the high school, right? Oh, that's crazy. All right, so who's new high schoolers? Who's our new high schoolers? A couple of you. Who are new middle schoolers? A couple of you. Yeah, that's exciting. So I know things are changing, and that's it's okay. It's a crazy world, and it's just going to get crazier, so just hang on. We're going to start a new series starting today. It's called Going Places, and it's all about the idea of friends and having relationships with people that represents what Christ would have for us. So that's where we're going to be starting out. It's a new curriculum. We're going to see how it goes. But we're going to start with a game. But before we get to the game, I wanted to remind you guys, first of all, we are back to normal. So every Wednesday here at 6 o'clock, tell your friends, bring your friends. And I know this week was crazy with school starting, and I know a lot of people who are out for that. But next week, hopefully, we'll be back into that and be back to normal, okay? When we go to small groups, we're going to do something for your teachers. We are creating just a little bag with like some candy and an ink pen and a little note. So small group leaders, you may have to grab a student or two to help you carry it, but the material is on top of your boxes and behind your boxes. You'll grab that and take that with you. You're going to be making these bags. Each group will be making 40 bags, except David's group. You're making 15, I believe. But the rest of you will be making 40 bags. And so these are going to South Warren High School and Middle School teachers because they're our neighbors. Next time we'll try to do a different school, but it's just going to be something for your teachers. So what I want you to do is you'll create those packages. You'll hopefully, while you're doing that, you can go through the small group material. And then at the end, when you're done with the packages, with little bags, you pray over them as a group because those are going to teachers or faculty, staff, all the people that work at the schools. Just pray over that and who's going to be getting that for your teachers. I know you think, well, you need prayer. Obviously, we're going to pray for you guys too, but I think it's pretty important that we pray for our teachers, that they are making choices that God would have them to make, that you're safe and that they're safe and all that kind of stuff too. So we want to encourage our teachers. So be nice to your teachers. It might pay off. So that's what we're going to be doing. That's our mission project for this month. We're going to play a game. So what I want is us two, which are almost kind of already divided up like this, boys and girls. We're going to guys against girls. So ladies, if you guys will line up back there, get in a group at the end of this aisle, and guys at the end of this aisle. So we're going to go back there. What you're going to do is this game is called Real Fake Friends. So you're going to see a series of clues. They're going to start with 1. Nobody comes up, we'll go with 2. Nobody comes up, we'll get 3. And then it's going to represent a set of television or movie friends, okay? That's the clue. They're real friends in this fake world that they're in, okay? So you'll send one representative up to grab the cup, and then you'll get to answer. Does that make sense? Okay? Don't send anybody up if they don't know the answer because it'll be negative points. So girls against the guys. All right, so here's your first one. Again, there'll be one clue at a time will pop up. If you know it on the first one, you go ahead and come up here. But if you don't chance it and don't lose your spot. Yeah, equal up with the guys. They're cheating up here, already coming up. They apparently think they need it. All right, stay back behind where Cameron is. That second row. Behind Cameron. Not in front of him. Behind him. And you might want to make room for somebody in the back that might actually know the answer. You never know. Just a thought. All right, here's your first one. First clue. 2 of these 3 friends, so there's 3, eventually get married. Somebody know who that might be? It's pretty vague. We'll go to the next one. Next clue. These 3 friends go from grade school through college with the same teacher the whole way. She thinks she knows it. What are these 3 friends' names?
Harry, Ron, Hermione.
That is not correct. But I see where you're going with that. So, girls, put the cup down. So far, you're down -1, but you might get a chance to redeem yourselves if you can guess this last one. These 3 friends meet the world together. Pay attention to the clue. They meet the world together. Nobody knows it? Uh-oh. Might have a... Yes, it is. Sean, Topanga, and Corey. Good job. Okay, girls, you redeemed yourself. You lost a point. Now you gained a point. Now you're back to nothing. All right. So you're out of the hole. All right, next one. One is known for his signature dance. The other had a solid rap career. Carlton and Will. Let's see. Correct. Good job. All right. Boys get it. Next one. One has a large family. The other has a large bank account. And then the last is known for a large brain. So again, 3. No, none. Next clue. These 3 go to school together and always end up having adventures every year. They have adventures. Harry, Ron, and Hermione is correct. Good job. You were just a question ahead. All right, next one. These 2 are best friends that you will find from the Wild West to the outskirts of space. Do you know the answer?
Woody and Buzz.
Woody and Buzz is correct. Good job. All right, next one. 2 of the 6 are related, so there's 6 friends. Next one. Next clue. Oh, you think you know? You got to give all the names.
I'll wait for the next. Oh,
All 6 names.
All right. All right, ready?
I'm-
Ross, Chandler, Joey, Phoebe, Rachel, Monica.
Good job. It is the 6 friends from Friends. All right, next one. One is small and walks on 2 legs. The other is big and walks on 4 legs. This could be a lot of things, I know. Next one. Next clue. The king of the jungle is also their best friend. What are their names? Close. Pumbaa and Timon. I'm going to give it to them. They need it. Good job. All right. Next one. One has a long memory and the other has a short memory. Let's see. It's pretty much equal. All right. Who do you think it is? That is correct. And I'm going to make you guys do... Huh? Oh, you're right. It wasn't. But were you going to say that? Yeah. Well, let's do rock, paper, scissors. Come on back up here. Rock, paper, scissors. I don't know what he was going to say. All right, guys got it. So sorry, ladies. All right. These 2 both came from different times, but always save the day. Is that a clue? All right, next clue. One is the brain, the other is the brawn. Next one. These 2 friends almost stopped being friends because one knew who killed the other's parents and hid it. Do you, though?
Iron Man
Let's see. All right, how many more we have? All right, 2 more. Ladies, you really need these. I won't do any good, but these are 2 of the saltiest of friends. Does that help? Next one. The theme song of the show these 2 friends are in is sang by a pirate. Oh. Let's see. Yep, you're correct. All right, ladies, one more chance to just save your dignity. The fact that these 2 are friends is a strange thing. All right, next clue. One is a nerd, other is great hair. And that word.
Dustin and Steve.
Let's see. You got it. Good job. It don't matter. Guys won it anyway. All right, good job, everybody. Have a seat. Good job, guys. All right. Guys, get bragging rights. Good job. All right, we're going to worship now. All right, let's stand together. Let's worship.
I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my tomb till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. Now your mercy has saved my soul. Now your freedom is all that I know. The old made new, Jesus, when I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. I needed rescue, my sin was heavy, my chains break at the weight of your glory. I needed shelter, I was an orphan, now you call me a citizen of heaven. When I was broken, you were my healing, now your love is the air that I'm breathing. I have a future, eyes are open, 'cause when you called my name, I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. You called my name, and I ran out of that grave, out of the darkness into your glorious day. Were creation suddenly articulate, with 1,000 tongues to lift one cry? Then from north to south and east to west, we'd hear Christ be magnified. Were the whole earth echoing his imminence, his name would burst from sea and sky, from rivers to the mountain tops, we'd hear Christ be magnified. Oh, Christ be magnified, let his praise arise. Christ be magnified in me. Oh, Christ be magnified from the altar of my life. Christ be magnified in me. When every creature finds its inmost melody, and every human heart its native cry, oh, then in one enraptured hymn of praise we'll sing Christ be magnified. Oh, Christ be magnified, let his praise arise. Christ be magnified in me. Oh, Christ be magnified from the altar of my life. Christ be magnified in me. Oh, I won't bow to idols, I'll stand strong and worship you. And if it puts me in the fire, I'll rejoice 'cause you're there too. I won't be formed by feelings, I'll hold fast to what is true. And if the cross brings transformation, then I'll be crucified with you. 'Cause death is just a doorway into resurrection life. If I join you in your sufferings, then I'll join you when you rise. And when you return in glory with all the angels and the saints, my heart will still be singing and my song will be the same. Oh, Christ be magnified, let his praise arise. Christ be magnified in me. Oh, Christ be magnified from the altar of my life. Christ be magnified in me.
You guys can have a seat. All right, so go ahead and get your Bibles out. If you don't have a Bible, my tote is still over here in the corner. Go grab a Bible in the corner over here. It's right on the edge of the stage. Grab your Bible before we get started. So while they're getting that and getting situated, again, we are starting this new series called Going Places. How many of you in here have ever had to meet a new friend in an awkward situation, maybe, like you were the only person that didn't know anybody? Some of you have been the new person. Some of you maybe are moving into a new, new school or a new class or things like that, and you might not know people. You might just be, your class schedule this year might be that you aren't with some people that you know, so you're having to kind of meet some different people. But new environments can be intimidating, and so can new, relationships or new people, those kinds of things. It can be intimidating, but we hope, as we go through life, that we can find connections that are hopefully deep or can get deeper and deeper throughout the career of the friendship. And we want to have this connection and friendship here in the world because that's what God created us for. He created us to build relationships and be in relationships. He didn't create us to kind of go through life alone. He wanted us to do this together. And it looks different for every person. It's why he created us all with special gifts, abilities, and personalities and all that kind of stuff. But throughout the next few weeks, this series of Going Places, we're going to just really kind of lean into what friendships are and what God wants from that for us as far as how those friendships could be represented. So I want to just ask you a question. We think the theme of this series is about road trips, going places, like I said. So when we think about, anybody ever been on a vacation or a road trip? Most of you in here. It doesn't have to be anything crazy far, but you've been places, maybe to Nashville or across the country. So if you had a choice to go on a road trip down the coast, whichever coast you choose, that you could do that, or you could maybe go off-roading through the mountains. What would you choose? Who would do the coast? Raise your hand if you would like to go through the coast. How about those who would like to go off-roading in the mountains? It's about even, maybe a few more on the coast. Maybe you could go across the country all the way from one coast to the other, or you would just rather stay home and look at that on the TV. Who would rather go coast to coast than a few of you? Most of you? Yeah, I hope you would. How about this? You would rather take a motorcycle trip through the desert or go sightseeing in New York? Who would rather do the motorcycle trip? Who'd rather go to New York? A few of you here and there. I would rather do the motorcycle trip for sure. So maybe you haven't ever been able to go on an actual road trip or whatever, and maybe that's not your thing. It's not something that you really want to do. But there are lots of movies and shows where people take these road trips and they have these adventures. My parents just got back from a road trip out west. They were out there for a couple weeks and just driving through kind of the back roads and seeing all the weird stuff that's not on the main roads. And it's just a fun, just a fun time, getting to visit maybe dream locations and things like that. But what makes these trips usually better, I mean, you can do this alone and maybe have a little bit of a good time, but what makes them even better is doing that with people that you care about, right? Friends, family, whatever they happen to be. You might argue and stuff, everybody does a little bit on vacations, but but the reality is it's not as fun necessarily by yourself. So if you had the option to create this crazy, amazing road trip itinerary, who would be, you don't have to say names, but in general, who would be the kind of people that you would invite?
My small
Your whole small group. That'd be a big vehicle. That would be fun. But okay, so generally speaking, hopefully you would like to invite your friends. You probably want your parents to come or your guardians so that they could give you the money. You just want them to give you the money. Venmo it. Is that what you want them to do? You got Greg. Oh, he'll give you the money. Okay. He says no. Okay, so say the roles are reversed and somebody else is planning this trip. Would you go on a trip that somebody else planned out? Yes. Would you just anybody? Yeah. Okay, that's pretty trusting. It's a free trip. It's a free trip. Okay, so it's all about the freeness of it. Okay. So the thing is, a lot of times we have these big ideas and we just really want people to join us on these big ideas, right? And sometimes people are maybe hesitant to join us when they don't know all the details or what's going on. But we expect them to join us. But then when the roles are reversed and they have some great ideas that they want us to take part in, the expectations are maybe a little bit different in that moment. Would you do the same for them? If you're expecting them and they should come with you, would you do the same for them? Would you just drop everything and go with them? And probably, depending on who it was, the answer might be a little bit different. But a lot of your close friends, you'd probably be like, yeah, I'd be there with them. But some of the people in your life, you'd be like, no. I know how they plan out a Friday, and I'm not going to go a whole couple weeks with that person. And so it might vary depending on the depth or maybe the length or whatever the case might be of that relationship. So think about this trip. You're going on this trip. How many of you like to go snack shopping before you go on a vacation? That's one of my favorite things. My dad started this in our family, and we would have a giant, we had to make room in the car for the snacks. Everything else could stay behind if it had to, but the snacks had to come. So what are some of the favorite snacks that you bring on a trip that you may not have on a regular basis? Scooby snacks, okay. Lifesaver gummies. Oh, Lifesaver gummies, that's gross. What else? I hate gummies. Huh? Jolly gummy worms? Oh, those creepy things? Yeah, okay. The commercial's just weird, I don't get it. What else? Cheez-Its, yeah. Anybody ever had chicken in a biscuit crackers? You like those? Yes. I don't get those very often, but vacation time, I'm getting chicken in a biscuit crackers. Get a little cheese whiz and spray on them. It's amazing. So, if you were going on a trip, would you rather pick the snacks or would you rather somebody else pick your snacks? You want to pick your own snacks, right? So when you do have snacks and you pick it and you've got all these people going, do you keep some of your special snacks to yourself and share the others? Yeah, maybe. Yeah, because the thing is, you have some stuff that you know you like, but you want to be kind, so you give them the stuff that you get at the dollar store, and you keep all those fancy special snacks that you have for yourself, right? So when we think about our friendships and our relationships, they kind of represent a little bit of that. It's not conscious most of the time, but a lot of the effort we put in and the resources and all these things that we put into a friendship will vary depending on maybe our moods and how we're feeling at that time, but will vary depending on whoever is on the other end of that, who that relationship is with and how that relationship stands at that moment. Sometimes some friendships may be hard to navigate. Some friendships you feel misunderstood. Some friendships are just everything's natural. And so when there's different types of friendships are occurring in your life, you invest differently into each of those. And again, it's not always on purpose. Sometimes it's just how it flows in your own life. Friends kind of travel together and they see things differently. Your friends, whether it's just a trip or just in life, will see things differently than you, and you will see things differently than them. And so that creates opinions, right? And those opinions might vary, and they might maybe even kind of be opposites and go against each other. And so then frustrations begin to develop. And so we think, okay, well, my opinion or my wants, my desires are more important because I know that I'm right. And from your perspective, you may be right. But you have to understand that there are other perspectives that see a situation from a different angle. And so we are so focused sometimes on making sure that we have the snacks that we want, we have the resources that we want, and we have that we're pushing for the result that we want, that we forget that there are other people that this is going to affect. So the question is, okay, why does this matter and how is this important? So if you want to go ahead and turn to Matthew chapter 14, we'll be looking there. This is a story about how we care for each other from Jesus' perspective, from his friends and his followers and all that stuff. Obviously, we know that Jesus traveled a lot, right, in his ministry and in his life. And he traveled generally with the same group of people, right? And so he was with these guys pretty much all the time, but the destination never really mattered as much as the work that they were doing along the way, right? It was important, yes, where they were going, but what was more important is what they were doing. And so before we jump in, just a few things. We're talking about, this is coming off of the story of John the Baptist, right, where we're going to be picking up. So John the Baptist is related to Jesus. Do you remember how? He's what? He's his cousin, yeah. Jesus and John the Baptist were cousins. John the Baptist was a few months older than Jesus, and Jesus was baptized by John the Baptist, right? That's where he gets that name, John the Baptist. And so John was literally one of Jesus' first followers, and he was, like I said, a few months older, and so he was, preparing the way for Jesus to come and his ministry to come. So he was a family member, but he was also a very close friend to Jesus. So he had kind of multi-layered relationship with John the Baptist. So John believed that Jesus was God's promise. John knew this and he believed this, that he was God's promise to the world even before Jesus kind of began really pushing into ministry. He believed it and knew this even before Jesus' disciples did. And so again, he baptized Jesus in the Jordan River, and he was telling other people and preparing the way for Jesus. But just before we're going to pick up in verse 13, John the Baptist was murdered at this point, right before we're picking up. And so he was brutally murdered at the request of Herod Antipas. He was beheaded, and his head was placed on a tray to be presented. Herod was kind of tricked into this. He wasn't like he was like super fan of John the Baptist, but he didn't necessarily want to kill him this way. But he promised somebody he'd give them whatever they wanted if they'd do something, and they did it. And he was like, oh, and then that's what they promised. That's what they asked for. They said, I want John the Baptist's head on a platter. So he couldn't go back on his promise, so he ended up having John the Baptist killed and his head on a platter. And so Jesus, his friend and family member, was not only murdered, but in a crazy, cruel, horrible way. So Jesus had just experienced a great loss in his life, right? He was in shock. He was experiencing this massive hurt and this massive loss. And then, this is where we pick up. Verse 13. It says, as soon as Jesus heard the news, which is about John, he left in a boat to a remote area to be alone. So he wanted just some time to just reflect, to kind of gather himself. But the crowds heard where he was headed, and they followed him on foot from many towns. So people from all over. We're not talking about just a few people that were around him. This is people from all around towns, all over the place. Thousands and thousands of people coming to see Jesus. Verse 14. He saw the huge crowd as he stepped from the boat, and he had compassion on them, and he healed their sick. That evening, the disciples came to him and said, this is a remote place, and it's already getting late. Send the crowds away so that they can go to the villages and buy food for themselves. But Jesus said, that's not necessary. You feed them. We have only 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, they answered. Bring them here, he said. Then he told the people to sit down on the grass, and he took the 5 loaves and the 2 fish, looking up toward heaven, and he blessed them. Then breaking the loaves into pieces, he gave the bread to the disciples, who distributed it to the people. They all ate as much as they wanted, and afterward the disciples picked up 12 baskets of leftovers. About 5,000 men were fed that day, in addition to all the women and children. So 5,000 plus women and children, you're talking probably 15,000 plus people at this out in the wilderness, at the edge of this lake. So it was late. They had followed him. This is not, again, it's not like following him out to this field out back. This is a long journey out into the middle of nowhere. And so it was getting late. People had traveled, and now it was getting ready to get dark. And so he was like, there's no way that all these people can get back into town and get fed and before it gets late and before it gets dark. And so they were trying to figure out what we should do. And so his disciples were worried about the fact that they were in the middle of nowhere and these people were hungry, and they wanted to kind of wrap up this gathering and just send these people on home so that they can maybe take care of themselves, because they were also hungry. You have to think the disciples were also pretty hungry at this point. But Jesus knew that there was a bigger picture than taking care of these guys, his buddies. There's a bigger picture than taking care of this immediate hunger that they were experiencing. And so Jesus cared about this crowd and these people. First of all, he decided to spend hours healing their sick and taking care of their immediate needs like that. And so he also wanted to take care of what we think might be a simple need. It's just the need for food, but on a massive scale, right? And so he's like, give the disciples something to eat right now. Go ahead and do it. Why wait? Why send them home? Why make them walk and all this stuff? There were thousands of people, though, and so the disciples were probably thinking, they've seen Jesus do miraculous things. They hadn't seen anything specifically maybe this crazy big, but they knew his capabilities, but they're like, is this what he's going to do? And so this, here's what we've got, 5 loaves, a couple fish, and they brought it to him, and maybe hoping for the best. And so the thing is, Jesus, with the involvement of his friends, he took this bread and the fish, and he miraculously fed everyone. He fed all of these people. And we're thinking about, again, this amount of people. It probably took a crazy amount of time and a crazy amount of kind of logistical steps to get this figured out. And so if you think about yourself, the biggest event that you've been to where everybody was fed like a meal. For you, it might be lunch at school. I don't know. That's a lot of people, 1,500 in the high school or so. But maybe you've been to a wedding where there was 100 or so people there, and they were all fed and catered, and maybe a potluck, if you've been to a potluck at church, where everyone kind of brought food in, things like that. But think about how many people it takes to serve a large group like that. Now imagine that on the scale of thousands of people. Again, it's thinking like a concert. How many of you have ever been to a concert? Most concerts have at least 10, 15,000, upwards of 80 or 90, depending on who it is. But, think about a concert with 15 or so thousand people. How would you feed all those people at one time? You'd think it would take forever to wait in line and all of this stuff. But Jesus knew exactly what was needed, and nothing was going to stop him from making sure that these needs were met and those resources were there, whatever the food requirement was. But the thing is, he doesn't just stop at the food needs of these people. He also makes sure that they were met spiritually. He spoke with them. He cared for them. And that's what he does for us. That's what he models for us. And so I want you to kind of just imagine yourself in this story. Where would you see yourself just the way you are right now in this story? Would you fall under maybe the disciples? I'm not saying that that you would be a disciple necessarily, but would you kind of be like that? You were so focused on the fact that this was such an enormous task, an enormous situation, that you were kind of felt a little bit overwhelmed. Again, they were prepared to send people away, and not because they didn't want to help them, but because they were thinking they need to go home and eat. They need to get started on their way home so they won't starve. And so they were kind of overwhelmed at what was kind of in front of them. They didn't think or realize what Jesus was completely capable of. So you could be maybe one like the disciples. Maybe you're more like the people in the crowd, right? They knew that there was something really good about this man, this Jesus guy. They wanted to stay near him, right? You're waiting maybe for him to do another miracle, to prove he is who he says he is, and all this kind of stuff. Maybe that's who you fall under. Maybe you would just see yourself in the way that Jesus was acting. Even when we find ourselves in this overwhelming situation, we can still be creative and care for the needs of the people around us. And I think a lot of you have seasons and periods of your lives where you do that, hopefully more often than not. But you're thinking about, even though he's dealing with a massive amount of loss, this is what we have to keep in mind, what Jesus has just dealt with in his own life. Instead of focusing on that personal burden, he is pouring his energy into serving and meeting the needs of the people right in front of him. So Jesus reminds us that friends care for each other. And wherever you fall in this category, there's no right or wrong answers. It's at times in our lives we get overwhelmed, right? And we begin to think about our needs or the logistical things that are in front of us. And this has to be done, or this other stuff's not going to get done. And so, but Jesus wants us to just understand that, yes, He gives us knowledge. He gives us the ability to work through logistics, but he also hopefully gives us the compassion to want to care for others and to understand that they have needs. And so we're challenged to see those needs. We're challenged to see other people, first of all. Hopefully you see other people in your life. And you're challenged to maybe see the needs that they might have and to help meet those needs. And hopefully they would do the same for you. And not because you've helped them. It's not always because, well, they did something for me, I've got to do something for them. Maybe because they saw, oh, that person cares about me. I care about them. And sometimes we feel like we individually don't have enough to offer, but when we gather our resources and with other people and invite Jesus in, we see that we have plenty. Jesus is going to provide more than you ever thought possible in every situation if you just allow him to. Doesn't mean he's going to give you, millions of dollars so that you can go out and do amazing things. Maybe he will, but that's usually what we think about. Well, he needs to give me money so I can do this. Well, that's usually because I just want money. But a lot of times Jesus is just going to give you the resources you need to take care of a situation or to take care of somebody, or he's going to use you to connect that person with somebody who already has those resources. You have to sometimes take down what we can see, the limited visibility that we have, and allow God to do things that we couldn't see possible. So caring for 5,000 plus, so 15,000 or so friends, was kind of core to who Jesus was. And that's what he wants for us. He taught his disciples, he's teaching us, that loving everyone, and this includes our enemies. I know that's difficult for us to kind of think through, but he wants us to love our enemies. And doing that is part of following him. Flip over to the book of Luke, chapter 6. Just a couple verses I want us to look at there. This is Jesus speaking. Luke chapter 6, verse 31. It says, this is Jesus, do to others as you would like them to do to you. If you love only those who love you, why should you get any credit for that? Even sinners love those who love them. This is one of the most challenging commands or requirements that Jesus, I think, wants us to live by. It says, do for others as you want them to do for you. Does it say, do for others as you do for them? No. It says, to do to others as you want them to do to you. So the things that you hope people do for you, that they would pray for you, that they would encourage you, that they would be nice to you, that's what he wants you to do to them. I would think most of you in this room, probably hopefully everyone in this room, you don't go through the life thinking, I hope that person smacks me in the face, or I hope that person, says something really mean about my family. I hope that person, is just ignores me. No, we think, I hope that I fit in, or I hope that nobody makes fun of me today, or I hope that I don't look ridiculous today. I hope that somebody notices my new outfit, or I hope that something, we hope something positive happens from every interaction, right? Sometimes we may not want to talk with people, so maybe you're thinking, I hope that person doesn't talk to me today. But in general, we want good things to happen, right? We want positive interactions with the people that are around us. We want it to be comfortable. We want it to be not awkward. We want it to be maybe encouraging and nice. And so if we want that, that's how we should be treating everybody around us. So when you are going down the hallway and you see your best friend, most of you will probably be like, hey, and you're like all excited. And then maybe you can begin transferring that to other people that you see in the hallway. It doesn't have to be that you jump in the back of everybody that you see, but you could be like acknowledging people. You could actually just look up and smile at somebody coming down the hall. You don't have to, you can give them the Seth greeting. And maybe that take a little bit of time, but you could just smile at somebody. You don't have to go all out and do the fingers, but you could just smile at them. It's encouraging. You may not know what that person is going through. They may have just heard some news, some terrible news, or received something, or something bad happened at home, and you don't know what people are carrying. And a smile can go a long way. Or an encouraging word. Hey, how's it going? How are you doing today? Nice shirt, nice shoes, whatever. And you think, well, that's ridiculous. But you wouldn't like that if somebody said, hey, you got nice pants on, or whatever you're wearing. It may be silly, but you like that, right? So do that for other people. They're not going to hate you because you said that they have a nice shirt. And if they do, that's a whole other thing. Maybe they need some counseling. But just be nice to them until they're nice back. And if they're not nice back, still be nice to them. And so he's saying to do unto others as you want them to do to you. And if I'm honest with myself, I am frequently self-centered, self-focused. Not necessarily on purpose, but just because I know what I need to do that day, and I know I need to get some certain things done. I know that my kids might need this, or whatever, we might need this at home. And so I'm thinking about the things that I need and my family needs, right? It's not necessarily selfish all the time, but there are realities and logistics. But caring for others sometimes is not the first thing on our minds, right? Because we have things that we have to do. And I think that I want to do this. I want to care for others, right? And I hope you do too. But I don't always know how. So the thing is, it takes paying attention. and noticing those people, what it is that they need, what it is that they're maybe struggling with. Maybe it's obvious and maybe it's not, but the more you get to know them, maybe you'll get to understand what's going on in their life. And it's not always easy, but it takes time. But the thing is, for us, we know Jesus loves us, and when we follow him, we see people differently. We begin to see people the way he sees people. The closer you are to Jesus, the closer you're going to have you're going to be to his perspective. And every day that you grow closer to him, you begin to see things a little bit differently. You'll see the world a little bit differently. You'll see people hopefully through eyes that Jesus has begun to give you. While Jesus was in this story, he was mourning this incredible loss of his cousin, his friend. He still cared for thousands of people by feeding them and meeting their needs and healing them. And he had preached this for a long period of time, from all different town to town to town. He'd been preaching this, and now he had an opportunity to live it out and to show this is what we do. People knew, some of them knew that he was going away because he was sad, but they still followed, and they still had needs, and he still met those needs. He practiced what he preached about loving others. He did for them what they would, want him to do. They did for him. He wasn't like thinking, I'll do this and hopefully I'll get something back out of it. He had no other motives of just, listen, I would hope they would care for me, so I'm going to care for them. And so he practiced what he preached. And when we follow him and when we trust him and we build our relationship with him, he is going to show us how to do those things. So it's probably not, in most cases, going to be food that your friend might need, but it might be somebody to just listen to them. It might be somebody to encourage them to stop doing something. It might be somebody to encourage them to start doing something, or whatever it might be. It's different for everybody, but we can be like Jesus by asking him to help us see the needs of our friends and other people. And as you do this, he's going to make us more and more like him. And that's hopefully your goal in life, is to be as much like Jesus as possible. People who are open to opportunities to care about Jesus are more open to the possibility to becoming more and more like Jesus. When you begin to see and care about the things that Jesus cares about, you begin to see and maybe care about things through his eyes in a different way than what we were thinking. Because it's easy for us to go to a situation that says, well, it needs this, they need this, and they need this. And those might be physical needs and obvious needs, but that might not be the actual thing that they need. And so when we begin to grow closer to Jesus, we'll begin to see maybe a different perspective and begin to see the core and the root of people's needs. And the thing is that the main point for today is that friends don't miss a chance to care for each other. A lot of you in this room have really close friends that you probably pour into on a daily basis. Some of you may have friends that you see regularly and you might call or text ever so often. Some of you have friends that you see just here and there. There's different degrees maybe of friendships that you might have, but when you pour into those relationships and you keep up with them, you can have opportunities to meet needs. And again, friends don't miss a chance to care for each other. So if you see a person that's in need, don't miss that chance to care for them. It might be awkward and it might be weird to just step out and say, hey, are you okay? But I guarantee you that will mean something to them. They may not just open up and tell you all their issues right then, but just knowing that somebody noticed them, knowing that somebody cared enough to stop and ask, could be the beginning of a healing process for them. And so how can we start paying attention and caring for those around us? Although we may not be in this situation, probably not in the case where we need to feed thousands of people, the world's needs sometimes can be overwhelming. We live in a crazy world where there's just a need after need after need. But we sometimes just need to break it down to some practical things. And so 3 things I want us to be able to do. I'm going to write these on here because I want you to kind of give me some ideas to go along with these. The first thing would be to just pay attention, right? Pay attention. That seems simple, right? Everybody can pay attention. You know what that means, right? The next thing that you might be able to do is, once you know, maybe, is to offer support, which could be kind of a big deal once you get to know that person. And then the next thing could be a call for help. So when we think of these 3 things, Just what are some action steps? What are some things that you could do physically to help begin paying attention? What are some just realistic things you can do?
Maybe like taking time out of your day to actually like talk to that person like one-on-one.
Yeah. Get in a one-on-one situation with them. Get face-to-face with that person. What else? How else can we pay attention? Yeah. That's good, yeah. If they've changed a little bit, their mood has changed. What else? How can you let someone know that you're paying attention? So say you've noticed them, you noticed a mood change. How can you let them know that?
Maybe like just like text them like me and Sensei, like just talk to them, be like, hey, I've noticed, you're acting a little
Yeah.
different lately, what's going on.
Definitely, yeah. Send them a text, send them a DM, whatever. Just give them a piece of chocolate. Hey, you don't even have to have a conversation. Just hand them a piece of candy. As long as it's something to let them know, hey, I notice you, I see you, and I'm paying attention to you. These are just small actions that help them to understand that they're not alone. What's a good way to let somebody help offer support for somebody? Yeah. Hanging out and talk to them. What else? You can be a ride for somebody. Maybe they need to get somewhere. Offering that support. Maybe if they need a little bit of some kind of materials, food, money, something. What about calling for help? What about a call for help? If somebody comes to you, they have a big need, or you found out they have a big need, it's something that's over your head. What do you do? Tell a trusted adult. Yeah. It could be that it could be that maybe it's not so heavy that a grown-up has to be involved, that maybe you need some other friends to help encourage them. It could be that it's serious enough that, yes, you need to loop in a trusted adult, whether it's a parent or a small group leader or a teacher or someone else, and that's okay. If you have a friend that's going through something that they're not equipped and you're not equipped to handle, it's okay to reach out to someone who is. It might be hard, and they actually might get mad at you initially, but it's better for them to be upset with you for a minute and then get the help that they need than for something to continue to go bad, right? So gather the courage and either point them toward professionals, or maybe you can grab someone and loop them in. When we think about like a road trip, that's what a friendship is. It's a journey. It's not just something that you get in the car one day and you get there. It's a process, right? And it's not always a good and easy one. Sometimes you have hills and valleys, you have flat tires, you have obstacles. And the thing is, it's not just about the destination. It's about the trip. It's about the relationship. A fulfilling friendship is one that stays, the one that continues moving forward. And it includes Jesus together, following Jesus together. Again, you might have to take a break sometimes and chill out for a minute and come back together. But if you continue to point each other to Jesus, that relationship is going to continue to grow in a positive way. And the thing is, we have to remember that friendships aren't about just what we receive. It's about what we can give to each other. And Jesus wants us to do that. So what I want you to do, you all have an index card, and you may have already written on it, that's okay. But hopefully you have at least a portion or maybe all of one side that you can write this down. So what I want you to do is to think of a friend that you have that you don't necessarily see all the time. Maybe not your BFF that you're going to go home with later today, but maybe somebody that's a good friend that you want to show them that you care about them this week, that maybe you haven't shown them that in a little while. So write privately. This is just between you. You're not going to do anything with this as far as like show it to anybody. But I want you to write that name down, come up with that name, whoever it is that you just really need to show that you care for them. And then I want you to choose an action from this list. It could be that you know somebody that's struggling with something. You have a friend, you know they're struggling, and you may need to be at the bottom of that list right there that's saying call for help. But for most of you, it's going to be one of those first couple. Maybe they're struggling with something, but it's not a huge deal, but you know they could use some support, whatever that might be. But it might just be somebody that just needs to know, hey, I'm still here. I'm still your friend, and I still want to, have a relationship with you. Again, friendships are two-sided, and Jesus wants us to care for others, but he also wants us to have friends who care for us. And so when we do this, when we build a relationship with somebody and begin treating them as Jesus would have us do, it's going to grow that friendship most times, 99% of the time. There are some people in this world that you can be everything that you're supposed to be to them, and they just might not click with you, and that's okay. But hopefully they will with somebody. And maybe you're in this room and you're thinking, well, I don't have that great of friendships in general. And you think, well, I don't have anybody that cares about me, and I don't have anybody that I care about that much. That's okay. Today's that day you begin that process. Maybe with this person that you've written their name down. That's why we're doing this series about friendship, to help us start seeking friendships and building friendships that are supportive and caring and focused on Jesus. So again, before Jesus fed the crowd of 5,000, he asked his disciples to help, right? He didn't just do it. He asked his disciples. He brought them into the process to help. And he wants us to understand that we can do this too, to do life together. You can have a couple friends that you want to hang out with all the time, but share that friendship, share that love with other people. And you're not in this alone, and you don't want them to be in this alone. So there's going to be a prayer, I think, that's on the screen. And we're going to pray here in just a second. But as we pray, I want you to think this. So you don't have to pray this exactly, but the idea is that, God, I'm putting this person, whoever this person is that you have written down, in your hands. And you're thanking God for the friendship that you have with this person. And then you're asking God to maybe bring peace to them, help them to understand that you're there for them, and you're asking maybe help me to be a good friend to them, serve them, whatever the case might be. As you take this card with you, I want you to kind of pray this throughout the week. Whatever God is putting in your heart to pray. Again, you know what they're going through, you know what they've struggled with and dealt with, and just letting them know that you're there is that first step. But we're going to pray. You can keep your eyes open and look at this if you want to pray this prayer. But whatever it is that God has put on your heart for this person, ask him to reveal that to you. God, we love you. I thank you so much for this day. I thank you for these students, and I thank you for the opportunity to just take a few weeks to talk about friendship. Sometimes we don't put enough emphasis on the relationships that you've created for us beyond marriage, and we need friends, and I'm thankful for the friends in our lives, God. I pray for each student that's in here that, first of all, that they would be a reflection of you in their relationships and their friendships, God, that they would seek to be more and more like you so that you can lead their friendships, Lord. I pray that you help them to be reminded to treat other people as they want to be treated. And the name that they've written down, God, I pray that you please just bless them. Help them to understand how to reach out, how to pay attention to them in a way that is encouraging. Help them to understand ways that they can be supportive to that person, and if it's a heavy enough need, the ways that they can point them to someone who can help them, God. I pray that you help mend the relationships that need to be mended and strengthen those that need to be strengthened, and just develop those that are new in ways that you would have it, God. A foundation that is found in you, God. We love you. We praise you, and we ask these things in your son's name. Amen. You guys are dismissed. Your rooms and stuff, some of you may not remember, your rooms and stuff are going to be on the screen. 7th grade girls will head to room 16 with Lily. 10th and 12th grade boy, or 10th through 12th grade, it's Greg and Cameron. You're in room 51. And then 10th through 12th girls are in room 54. No caps. 8th through 9th boys, room 19. Yeah, you have one sample leaders in there, so now you know how to do that. 8th and 9th girls, room 15. And then 7th grade boys, room 52.